Go live.
Hey everybody, we are live. So, that's a camera, right? So we always do our Halloween Horror Nights. This is our 8th Halloween Horror Nights review, but we figured, hey, might as well do it live so that if anybody's around, I know it's probably not the most ideal, I forgot my lipstick, ideal time to stream, but our schedule's a little bit hectic. But we figured we'll try it this year, and maybe we'll get some feedback about what time and what day works for everybody, and do this again next year. So and it's like a live Q&A.
Yeah, and although we really don't have time for Q&As, you can always enjoy this later.
Yep. And if you have a queue, and you're watching you're watching this video later, the on demand. We'll give you an A afterwards. So let's get this started. Oh yeah. So
let's do a quick little overview before we go into spoilers, like always.
Yes. So should we start with it's funny is I'm holding this like it's a microphone that I'm using to speak in. It's actually a prop. I mean, it is a real microphone, but I'm not using it as a microphone today. So you want to start with the scary zones, or
let's start with the scary zones. Let's do that.
All right.
Sounds good.
Scary zones. That is not very metal. So where would you like to start, sir?
Let's start with the Harvest.
All right.
That is location K. If you come into the
K as in kill.
If you come in right through the gates and you just keep moving forward, this is the first thing you'll run into.
And based on the scare zone, you should keep moving forward because
it's all right. It's okay. I do like some of the costumes in there. There's that big tall pumpkin guy with the arms.
He's pretty cool for the opening ceremonies because they both come out with the big giant arms and they stand there all posing and stuff when people are standing at the gate. So that's pretty cool.
This is kind of, well, like Dave was mentioning, this is kind of like the Icons of Horror was last year.
Except it doesn't look as cool as it did during the day.
Then we're going to move on to Vamp 85 New Year's Eve.
All right! By the way, I didn't steal this costume from the prop department. I was walking around, and that stage that they have set up with all the dead rockers, the dude's wearing the same pants and same shirt. So apparently, Universal shops at the same costume shop as I do.
Hey, that's awesome. That's pretty metal.
Yeah. So I wasn't going. I was just going for a generic '80s metal, glam rock metal. When I was putting on the makeup, I was thinking like, hey, I should have gone as HR Blood and Guts, but I already put all the money into buying all this stuff. So
it is New Year's Eve, 1984. There's a big concert going on, and they're gonna rock down to midnight and watch the ball drop. There is a lot going on in this zone. This is actually.
Yeah. Even though it's smaller than the New York zone has been in the past.
Yeah. This is, I would say, the main scare zone this year. There's dances. There's all kinds of characters. The playlist is huge. Think of any classic 80s song.
Yeah.
They've got it.
And the band they have that's set up is metal, and there's definitely some metalheads in the walking around as vampires, but there's a lot of other music. Obviously, you got to have rap and hip hop.
Oh yeah.
In the '80s, because that would just be wrong otherwise.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that, and Michael Jackson's walking around, and a few other. Mm-hmm. So it's a good mix. It's pop, and it's not just metal. Yeah. But like I said, it's smaller, and there's they actually do drop the ball every, I believe, it's 30 minutes, which means that it's 12 a.m. New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day, in the very, very beginning of Halloween Horror Nights with the sun still up. But they do drop the ball right before cast change. And what happens once the ball drops?
chaos, a whole lot of chaos. But let's hold off on that for the heavy spoilers.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on to Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Okay, I guess we'll come back to the rest of it.
Well, we're doing scare zones, right?
Yeah, but I still have notes.
Oh, well, is it all heavy spoilers?
I don't think so.
All right, well...
I mean, I guess you can save it.
Okay. Well, up to you. If you want to say it, you can say it.
I was just saying that maybe it's just my experience, but I feel like there's a little less interaction than last year's, I think it was last year's, VAM 55. Maybe it's a little more spread out, maybe because they had props to kind of gravitate around. It also could just be my experience, but I feel like there was more interaction with VAMP 55, but still pretty cool.
Well, there's also a different reason for that across the park.
All right, I guess we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But that was the thing that I thought made VAMP 55 as awesome as it was.
Yeah. All right, so the next zone is Location M, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Okay.
That is South Street. So a different zone than normal.
Yes.
It's
usually it's in San Francisco, but because they wanted to open the Fast and Furious, which is named that because the ride's over fast and then you end up furious. They wanted to leave that space open for people to go in happy and come out like, geez, I wasted my time going on that ride. So they're doing it in South Street instead. But there's also another reason for that, which we'll get to later.
Mm-hmm. But this is based on the classic movie from the 80s. The costumes are phenomenal. It looks like they're like straight off the movie set.
Yes. And I never watched the movie. This guy has. And not long before Halloween Horror Nights, when MegaCon was here in Orlando, this guy bought a Killer Clown shirt. And I said, Brian, what do you think about the idea of him having having Killer Clowns and Halloween Horror Nights? Do you think that'll happen? And he said, well, I don't know. It's kind of a cult classic, but it's not all that well known. And they kind of go for some bigger IPs. Shortly afterwards, It was announced.
Yep.
So I haven't watched the movie, but I did watch the kill count video, which gives me a decent overview of the movie and some of the points that they hit in the scare zone. So if you haven't watched the movie, I forget what it was called, but it's a kill count video or a summary video. Even if you watch just that, great, thanks. That's great. Why don't you just I can't even find it. Spammers. My phone is on silent, but my computer rang.
That was just our keyboards doing a solo. That's all that was.
Yes, because of course, how metal is I don't even know what the instrument's called.
So, a guitar?
Maybe. I don't think that's what it's called. But anyway, let's see what the chat's doing.
Yeah.
Nothing. All right. So if you want to watch a video like that, that'll at least give you some ideas of why this is there and this is there. And they did use the space very well. But as I said, when we get to spoilers, there is a specific reason why they're in South Street other than the Fast and Furious.
All right. So now we're moving on to Twisted Tradition, which is Location N, which is Central Park.
I walked around and just put the notes in order when I was walking. So I put them in order. So, should we mention or is that spoily?
The glowy guy? Yeah, but we can talk about him.
No.
Oh, no, I suppose we can talk about that. That doesn't seem to be that spoily. We will mention it briefly, then we'll talk more about it later.
So, ironically, there's a big stage for the Christian festival right before, which will not happen next year because they're doing Rock the Universe in February, far away from Halloween Horror Nights, so they don't have to. Well, they always cover up the blood and guts for day guests, but that was a stage for a concert, and like the next day they had this old falling apart church that they erected. Ironically, they put up a church after the Christian festival, Sadly, it's not like the house that was there for one of the many Walking Dead years.
Oh, that was Bayou Blood. When it was in the zone.
Oh, where you can walk through it.
Oh, no.
That was Walking Dead. Because there was a big fat guy.
Oh, yes, that was 23, yes.
Yeah,
that was the barn.
Where they had the barn where you can walk through. It's in that same location, but unfortunately you can't walk through it. But it's kind of cool. As you see here, as I put my hand way outside the frame, there are pumpkins all over here. There's only 3 because I bought a new one and I still only own 3. But as they've done many other times, they have pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns all in the trees, which is pretty awesome.
Hundreds of them. And in there, it's a lot of pumpkin-themed creatures. So we'll get more into it later.
Yeah.
And the final of the 5 scare zones is Revenge of Chucky. That is location O, that is Hollywood.
Oh.
So if you come right in the gates and then you make that first right, that is the first thing you'll run into is the Cult of Chucky.
I promised myself I would organize this, but I spent so many hours setting this up, I ran out of time. So it's a bit like A Chance in Hell, in one way.
Mm-hmm.
They have different, not floats, but set pieces out in a couple of different places where the characters stand on as a stage and interact with you.
Mm-hmm.
The gobos look pretty cool. They have Chucky gobos as their projections, basically going back and forth.
Yeah.
On the walls. Yeah, looks like everything else is spoily.
All right. So let's quickly go through the houses, and then we'll go into heavy spoilers. Yeah, we'll be back in a few hours. We're just going to go to Halloween Horror Nights.
Oh, I mean, I talk about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew that.
Lead singers.
What are you going to do? You know? I just show up and sing like the other guys set up everything. I mean, as soon as we stop rolling, I'm gonna go back to my trailer. Better have my damn brown M&Ms.
Contract obligations.
Or else I'm not going back on stage ever again.
Yeah. All right. So the first house.
House 1
is Stranger Things.
Why so strange?
That is location A.
A is an apple.
You keep going all the way through the harvest, and it'll be the first thing on your left, right.
Music Plaza stage.
That's right. Now, if you are a Stranger Things fan, or you want to see every house, or you don't like waiting in 2-hour lines, go see this first. This is the busiest house.
Although, even if you go for Stay and Scream, by the time you get to the house, there's going to be a line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But just in general, whatever house has the queue at the Music Plaza is usually the most popular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That they know these things, and that's the biggest queue. So
yeah.
It also doesn't help. That's the first thing if you walk straight in, like generally people do. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing you hit. Mm-hmm. I went on Saturday. Went from the gates, went straight back to Scary Tales, and that was a walk-on.
Oh, nice.
Like it was to the point where I got lost a couple times because the problem is it was still daylight out, and it was hard to see where I was going. So if you want to walk on, go to another house.
Yeah.
If you're waiting for the line to be short for Stranger Things, it won't. It'll vary.
Yeah, it'll vary, but it's not ever gonna be like a short line. And don't wait for it'll die down at the end of the night. I've been walking out of there at 1:30 in the morning, and Stranger Things still had a significant line, and it was closed.
Right. So even during team member preview, where 5 and 10 minutes were the pretty much what it was for every house. There's like one that was 15. even then it was still 35,
Mm-hmm.
and that's as low as we're going to see.
Oh yeah, yeah, because that's just Universal team members.
Yeah. So yeah. What's the lowest you've seen so far? I think it was maybe 60. That's the lowest, but it's been up to 120.
Oh yeah.
So this wasn't last year where like nobody came for a while, except for that time when we were at Disney. Apparently that day was super dead.
Really?
I think it's because it was a date that was added, and maybe people didn't plan around it or something.
Yeah.
But we didn't go that Wednesday because we had plans.
Yep.
And then the very next Wednesday, which is also added, I was working that entire day, so I don't know how that went. We'll see how this Wednesday goes.
Yeah. All right. So the next house is Carnival Graveyard, Rust in Pieces.
Oh yes.
So that is the Jimmy Fallon queue. So go all the way past Stranger Things, and it's the next thing right after. Pretty much you're walking into the entrance of Jimmy Fallon, then you're going into the extended queue and going into the soundstage.
It shares a house with Scary Tales.
The concept is...
It shares not house, a soundstage.
So the concept is it's an old, rundown carnival in this scrapyard.
Well, it's more of a junkyard. I thought it was going to be an actual carnival. But
It's
more of a salvage yard.
Yeah, it's old carnival things in a salvage yard.
Yeah.
So it's not an operating carnival. It's kind of like you're trespassing. But there's still carnies who live there, and they don't like trespassers.
No. I don't know. Maybe like once the carnival closed, maybe the carnies are looking for work, and they're like, "Well, I guess we'll work at the scrapyard."
Yeah, why not?
But they're like still attached to it, so like, "Hey, man, don't mess with our stuff."
Yeah. Now this is a treasure trove of Easter eggs.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into some of the Easter eggs later, but I don't even think we know of everything.
No, but I can tell you that the first one is super obvious.
Okay.
You almost trip over it. First one I spotted.
So the next one is Scary Tales, Deadly After.
Same building.
Go past Carnival, and it is the entrance on the left. So location C.
Now, what I've done in the past, and I forgot to do this on Saturday, you might feel a little self-conscious about it, but it works. I went to Walgreens or whatever shop you go to, buy a cheap eye patch. If you're going in during the daytime before it gets dark, if you go early in the year, put it on while you're standing in line, at least 10, 15, 20 minutes over one eye, because once you get in, you take it off and you can see. It's an old trick that sailors and pirates used to use.
Yeah.
That's why they had eye patches most of the time, because I can tell you from experience that this is one of those houses that are a little bit tricky to navigate if you can't see because your eyes aren't adjusted to the dark.
Yeah. Old school Horror Nights veteran trick.
Yeah. This is my 9th year.
Yeah. All right, so the concept of Scary Tales is the Wicked Witch of the West has cursed the land of the fairies. Twisted, beloved stories beyond recognition. All right, I read that wrong. The Wicked Witch of the West has cursed the land of the fairies, twisting beloved stories beyond recognition. There are no fairy tale endings here. So what you've got is classic fairy tales, twisted and warped around, twisted childhood stuff. This is one of my favorite houses.
And it's also something that has come back to Halloween Horror Nights a bunch of times. The last time we saw it was a scare zone in what they call production, which is between Shrek and Minions.
Yeah. This is the same place where the Harvest is right now.
Yeah. Except it was cool.
Yeah. And let's move on to Poltergeist. That is location D. That's right next to the entrance of Scary Tales.
Yeah. This one's also pretty popular.
Mm-hmm. This is, I think, is the second busiest house.
Yeah. Most of the houses tend to be around the same. There's been a couple have been, forget which ones, that have been kind of low when everything else is over an hour. But so far it's been pretty busy.
Yeah. So this, of course, is... well, actually, you go ahead.
What's that?
This is based on the 1980 80s movie.
I haven't seen.
So the original movie from the 1980s, that's what this is based on. It's
Was
not
there
based,
a remake?
Yeah, there was a remake
Oh.
like 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Of course, everyone hated it because it was a remake. So
I liked it. I thought it was cool.
But it's a remake, so it has to be bad. So, from Poltergeist, we go to...
We go to The Horrors of Blumhouse, Location E. So that's over by Bill and Ted. That's Front Tent 3.
Or what should be Bill and Ted.
Oh. That's over by Academy of Villains. I'm sorry. I'm just so used to saying that.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we wish you were right. So, Blumhouse. Oh, look at that. I got no notes.
So, it's based on Happy Death Day and The First Purge.
Oh, there it is. I don't know if it's exactly 50-50 split, but it's pretty balanced.
Yeah,
it's not like
yeah.
last year's where it's like this one, and then this one.
Yeah.
It's pretty well split,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a pretty noticeable difference between the two. There is something super spoily about this house that I don't know if it ruins it, but we'll get to that.
Well, if you've
later.
seen Happy Death Day, you probably know.
Yeah. It's just a specific way that they did it, which is pretty cool.
All right, so let's move on to Slaughter Cinema, Location
All right.
F.
No one wants to go there.
Everyone wants to go there.
Oh, just in case you can't tell, because it's hard to balance the black with light and not blowing it out. This guy here is hung by a noose made of cassette tape. And it also has a cassette in him.
Hmm.
And then the pumpkin over here
Is eating a cassette.
and is vomiting cassettes.
Blah, too many cassettes. Blah.
So, just 80s. If you're wondering, you can still buy cassettes at Walmart. So, just in case that's not obvious, you're looking at your screen like, what exactly is that? And this is a nod to Vamp 85.
Yeah.
It's a par can I made myself. And it's dangling down just like it does in the Scare Zone. And, of course, Michael Myers is behind us because I saw that in spirit. I'm like, now I got to buy it.
Hey, Dave, you want to know something else?
What's that?
This is a DIY project, and you know what's very DIY?
Because I did it myself.
That's right, but the old school first wave punks were all about DIY because they had to be.
Yeah. And if you did this to a real parcan, your finger would get a third-degree burn instantly. So that's another good thing about
Ow!
it. Okay, Michael. So, moving on to...
Dead Exposure Patient Zero.
Now, technically, Academy of Villains is next, but we'll go back to that.
Now, this isn't spoiling, but I want to say this is a prequel to a house that was exactly 10 years ago.
Ooh. And it's another zombie house, sort of. It's an undead house, so it's kind of like that.
But I do like what they do in here. It's more than just Walking Dead walkers, and it's more than normal zombies. There's something going on here, and I think it's really cool.
This is another house that I had to be redirected because I went in there during the day. So once again, if you got your eye patch, definitely a good time to use it. Although, if you go straight back to the houses that are around Men in Black, you'll find that there's not much of a wait. So you might not have enough. And at worst, you can go like this and close your eye if you forget it or you don't buy one or whatever. That also helps. Is just you have to hold your hand like that the whole time. So it's a long house, given the size of the tent. It's an impressively long house.
I will say I think all houses this year are very good size and length.
Yeah. But when they're in the soundstage, they have more room to work with. If you saw the tent on the outside, it's pretty tiny.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that they can squeeze as much as they do. And I don't believe it's as narrow and claustrophobic as what was that house that everyone said didn't like?
Tomb of the Ancients.
Yeah. Which was an awesome house, but some people avoided it because it was too narrow.
But they did that on purpose because it's supposed to be like you're navigating caves and caverns.
But they didn't make it narrow in order to make it long. It's a good size.
Yeah. All right, so H, Seeds of Extinction, which is actually a new location. It's location H.
Hope you like walking.
You actually walk past the queue of dead exposure on your way to Seeds of Extinction.
Hey, this is the old way they did it up until 2 years ago, and they didn't do it last year, where you go through Barney and you keep going back as if you're going to where Trick or Treat is now. But you go past that house and you keep going back to the new barn building and make a left, and then you go through a whole bunch of barricades, and then you go in the house, and then you leave and go all the way over to where Trick or Treat is, and you keep going all the way over to ET and exit that way.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
They only used half of B79 for Trick or Treat. I don't know why they didn't put the Seeds of Extinction in the other side, so you didn't have to walk as far, but they didn't.
So the concept of this is a meteorite with a big 4-foot seed crash landed on Earth, and within 5 days, this seed changed the entire ecosystem of planet Earth. And what you are dealing with now is several decades, I would guess, later. Everything's overrun. Like there's still buildings left, but like plants are covering everything, and there's living plant life.
In my notes, I called it Seeds of Exhaustion.
Because you do all this walking?
Yeah. But, it's a theme park thing.
All right.
So, what are we doing next, yo?
We're going to go trick-or-treating.
All right, let's go.
All right, so that is location I. That is where Halloween 2 was.
This is the I in team.
And where Ash vs. Evil Dead was last year. This is also... if you were here last year, there was a zone in Central Park based on Trick or Treat. It is now graduated into a house. It's not a sequel. It's let's think of it as a more elaborate version of that scare zone. You actually walk into the houses. It follows the first movie, Trick or Treat. I mean, there's only one movie, so it follows that. There's just more elaborate scares, more elaborate scenes. There's a lot going on in there.
Yeah. Whoever's watching, please jump into the chat room.
Yeah, just say hi at least.
If you have any questions about Horror Nights, we can answer them. Yeah. We're going to keep going down the list, but if we see something in the chat, we'll stop and respond to it. So,
the final house is location J, Halloween 4. Evil has returned in an all-new house. Michael Myers is unstoppable, and there's nowhere to hide.
What about under a rock? Now, side note, one of my leads from last year in attractions is actually working this house this year.
Oh, cool.
I saw her going in. It was like, yeah, after what happened to me last year in attractions, I'm not doing that again.
So this follows the story of Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. So if you've seen Halloween 4,
there's lots of Jasons.
You mean Michaels?
Whatever.
So if you're at least familiar with the story, it follows it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, unless you have anything you want to talk about, we can move on and go into heavy spoilers.
Yeah. I just realized it's a little bit too late, but I should have put an overlay on the screen here for people who were joining us late to say it's spoiler time, but it's too late to do that. This is our first year doing it live, so didn't think about that. So now what?
Now it's time for spoilers, spoilers, spoilers.
Like eggs, they spoil when they crack and burn.
All right, so do you want to start with scare zones again, and then go into houses, or go to houses and go to scare zones?
We can do either one. Scare zones don't have as many spoilers, but we'll start there.
All right. So let's start with the harvest. All right. There's not much to spoil here. You're going to see different signs for the IP houses. Trick or Treat, Halloween, Stranger Things, and Poltergeist.
Yeah.
And different like little things from like Poltergeist. There's like the
props and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's the old TV.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I wanted to have an old TV behind us, but I didn't know how to do that on a budget.
And then like the Halloween one has Haddonfield next exit, like a road sign.
Yeah. And they have the clown from Poltergeist, which I didn't realize was from Poltergeist. I only know it from one of the scary movies. I think it was 2.
Oh.
That's all I know about it.
Yeah. Let's go on to Vamp 85, New Year's Eve.
All right. It sounds like it's raining pretty heavily outside. If it was thunder and lightning, it would be?
Thunder!
Or it would be very Halloween.
Oh, it's very Halloween right now, everybody.
What?
I said it's very Halloween right now.
Oh, all right.
You don't get much more Halloween than rain during a live stream.
Except thunder. So, the Grateful Dead is the band is playing. It isn't, but they are dead.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're grateful about it, but there's also a guy on a motorcycle, which I don't know how that ties in. It seems more like something that was left over from The Purge, and has kind of put that in there. I don't know what the guy's function is.
Well, he's crashing the New Year's Eve party.
All he does is drive slowly around on a motorcycle.
It looks cool. I like it.
I think it looks misplaced and weird. So, once again, the ball drop, and they all got on stage and dance.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's like last time I was at Horror Nights and the ball didn't drop because there was a problem with the motor. Most of the times it drops. And then that's cast change. So the new cast all runs in like all crazy, and the old cast runs out.
Yeah.
A little, it's not very metal, but what's that movie? It's based on Romeo and Juliet, about gangs and Bloods and Crips and all that.
Oh, Romeo plus Juliet.
No.
That's what it's called.
No, it is not. Okay, so what are your notes?
Oh, there's a lot going on in this zone. This is the main scare zone. Besides watching the dancers, they dance to Thriller and Shoot to Thrill. That'll be on the stage. There's all kinds of stuff going on. They've got Undead Prince, Undead Michael Jackson. They've got Run DMC in there. Anybody who was big in the 80s who is no longer alive.
They have Boy George in there, too.
Yeah, yeah.
And they got an MC very much like the Purge. He's got a microphone and just says things, talks about whatever at the time.
Yeah. But there's a lot going on. There's 80s B-boys, 80s punks, 80s party goers. There's New Year's Eve guys like blowing horns at you. There's a lot going on. This is a really fun zone. If you're like done seeing houses for a while and you just want to like hang around in this zone, this is one of the zones to hang around in and just watch. It's really fun. There's a lot going on, and especially try to watch the ball drop because that is just awesome to watch. Oh, and when the ball drops, they start playing a Misfits song called "We Bite,"
which of course is a reference to
vampires. Even though they mention werewolves in the song, werewolves, vampires, things that bite.
Yeah. Okay, now we're going to
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
And, well, what I've done a couple times, I don't know if anybody else has, but here's an idea. If you're coming to Halloween Horror Nights, is one of the things, what do the clowns do? Well, there's several ways that people get killed in the movie, but what's one of the most iconic ways that people get killed in the movie?
They get wrapped in cotton candy and they hunt up, and the clowns take a crazy straw and they stick it in and they drink your blood.
Very Night Trap of them.
Yes, yes.
And so what I did was I came in with some pink cotton candy and I was walking around, and the two ice cream guys were like, "Is that Joe? Is that Joe Lobardo?"
How could you,
And
Joe?
And then I found some gummy eyeballs at Walmart. So I came back again with some pink cotton candy, and I had one of those zipper bags that it has a little strip you can write on. So I wrote Joe on it, and was eating it, and I got to the little gummy eyeball and looked at it like, I ate that anyway. And the clowns kind of got into it a little bit too. You were working that night, but what happened was the two ice cream guys went over to one of the clowns and like, "This is your fault. You did this."
But there's a lot of things going on that you see from the movie. Yeah. So all the clowns from the movie, that lady with the snake clown wrapped around her,
even the little dog.
Yeah, there's a little balloon animal dog. They've got that on a leash. They've got a hockey stick. They've got some sort of like gun. I think it's the cotton candy gun.
Very phallic.
Yeah. The ice cream guys, the ice cream truck, the hanging cotton candy, and then the ice cream truck says, calling all clowns. Are there any clowns from outer space out there?" There's even clowns that I think Universal created for the zone. Like there's a couple female clowns. There's a...
You sure that's not in the movie? Because I think it was.
I don't remember. I mean, possibly.
Because I remember seeing from that video.
Okay. Well, there's definitely clowns that don't show up in the movie. I haven't seen the movie in a while, so I don't remember. But
that could help.
Yeah. So
I'm pretty sure that they all show up in the movie. But
okay. Well, if you like killer clowns, definitely go in here. This is a really good zone.
They're killer clowns, and they're from outer space.
That's right, Dave.
That's a cheesy 80s song that plays.
There's not much going in here as far as scare-wise. The clowns just kind of wander back and forth. The ice cream guys will interact with you. This is more of a photo op zone than anything, but
they do fit a lot in a small area because South Street is very narrow.
Yeah. All right, and now we're going to move on to Twisted Tradition.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so an ancient evil has been reawakened and transformed Halloween into an abomination. Now, this does take place when you walk into the scare zone from Hollywood going toward Kid Zone. So you're coming from, let's say, the entrance side, and you've come out of Revenge of Chucky. You will see a sign that says Township of Cary. And that's
Cary, Ohio.
Yeah, that's a reoccurring Easter egg for Halloween Horror Nights.
Now, recently I was told that the Cary, Ohio thing is around longer than that person has been working at Universal, so it might not even be a reference to that. She just happens to be from Cary, Ohio.
So what he's talking about is one of our longtime team members, who's now in the upper section, is from a town called Cary, Ohio. It's a very small town, like nothing's there.
And there's a very small, like probably 5 or 6 people who are at the very top of creative for Halloween Horror Nights, and they do other things, but
yeah,
she's one of the top people.
Yeah.
So, we were thinking that maybe it was named after her, but I've been told otherwise. It's kind of murky. I can't tell.
Mm-hmm. I like. There's not much going on here. It's people with bags on their heads. They're trick or treating. There's some pumpkin monsters running around. One of them looks very cool.
Yeah. They have these tall dudes, monsters that have pumpkins on their heads, and they're vomiting out their seeds and all that. And it's all lit up, and they have the rib cage exposed. That's all lit up. Must be really hard to walk around because their eyes, it's dark and they have lights in their eyes.
Yeah, but I think the big, tall, glowy guy is the leader.
Could be.
Yeah.
And there's a few pumpkins that have been busted open, and there's dead people inside them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess they got shoved into a pumpkin because they smashed it.
But we haven't talked about all the scare zones. Those are all the scare zones.
Well,
Well, you want to go back to this?
Well, I mean, this is what you wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Right? The steeple?
No.
Well, I mean, we're getting to another scare zone.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not done with the scare zones, but why don't you talk about that thing you were talking about earlier?
Well, what I was talking about is there's also the Simpsons area with the roaming hordes that's not on the map.
No, that's not on the map.
And that is, I don't know if it's a scare zone, but it's an area where they chase after you with chainsaws. This is reoccurring. This time it's all carnies instead of clowns like it normally is. And over in front of the exit and the gear shop for Fast and Furious is also another roaming hordes area where they have chainsaws running around. So there's really very few places around Men in Black. It is an exception, but other than that, there's nowhere to hide because they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm. There's also a roaming horde at the exit of Fast and Furious.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Okay.
In San Francisco. That was the first one I mentioned.
Okay.
The second one.
These are not carny chainsaw wielders. Over by San Francisco is a little bit of a variant.
Yeah.
But if you go to Simpsons area, that's definitely carnies.
Yeah. The outside of Fast and Furious gear shop is not as many of them, but there are a few of them that'll get you. Although that's a little scarier because if you don't hear a chainsaw for a while, you don't know where they are, and then they can surprise you by suddenly being right behind you.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So the next one is Chucky.
Well, do you want to talk about that church over by?
We already did.
Oh, all right.
What else to say? There's a church. You can't go in it.
It looks cool, I think. I like how it's red inside, and there's vines all over the place, and there's that old car. That's all. But yeah, let's go into Revenge of Chucky. Location O.
Oh.
Hollywood area. Now, if any zone were to give Vamp 85 some competition, it's Revenge of Chucky. There is a lot going on here.
Yeah. There's a few people that walk around that get pulled up on stage by Chucky.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is his own minions, which goes around in a yellow sort of rain jacket. And one of them is supposed to be the CEO of the toy company that created the Chucky doll or the Good Guys doll and some of the other toys that are walking around. And he gets to go in the specially modified Lego chair, which is, of course, turned into a electric chair.
Mm-hmm. Kind of director kill a little bit.
I guess it's just just an electric chair.
Yeah.
And Chucky modified.
The Play Pals employee wearing the yellow shirt, yellow jacket, gets stabbed by Chucky personally.
Yeah. And this is really cool, but if you stand around for long enough, it gets repetitive quickly. So that's the main stage. He does, very much like Chance, will pick people out in the crowd and insult them, which is what Chance did in the Chance in Hell. There's two places that you have to watch out for if you don't want to get wet. There's a barrel for the monkeys.
Yeah.
They even have the hooks. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And if you stand in the wrong spot, you'll get sprayed. Although all you have to do is look at the ground, you'll see where it is.
But it's reminding me of monkey see, monkey do, monkey pee all over you.
Okay. And then the other one, which is supposed to be like a twisted version of the Operation game.
Yeah.
That sprays around the whole area. So that one's really graphic.
The concept here is toys have been brought to life and made evil by Chucky.
Chucky was made evil by
Voodoo. So you've got Play Pal Toys employees, and they're celebrating 30 years of Play Pals. They've been around since 1988, so you've got a lot of 80s toys running around in here as well. Yeah. You've got a baby, a green soldier, monkey mayhem, like what he was saying with the monkeys, with the hooks.
Those are the monkeys in the barrel.
Mm-hmm. You've got a Cabbage Patch Kid. You've got Jem.
I don't know what the Pee Wee Herman guy was supposed to look. He's not really like Pee Wee Herman, but I guess he's more of a marionette doll, something like that.
Oh, well, there was a Pee Wee Herman doll.
Oh.
So maybe that's what it is.
Maybe. Gets shot in the back of the head.
Now, Chucky is on that main stage, and like we were talking about, he kind of roasts people. So it's a little bit of a callback to Chucky's Insult Emporium, which was Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood. But
it's also like Chance in Hell. So
yeah,
it's a little bit of both.
Now, he sticks to a kind of routine. Who are you? Where are you from?
Yeah.
What do you do for a living? And based on that, he'll roast you. A lot of people are like, well, I'm from Orlando. He doesn't like hearing that. So if you are actually from Orlando, say something different. And what you do for a living, do not say stuff. Because
stuff.
He doesn't like that.
Or maybe do, because it'll piss him off.
He'll kind of like, unless he's, like, hey, you right in front, like, he'll say, like, oh, look at that loser with the white shirt and the backpack. And, like, everyone starts looking around like, you right there, moron. So, like, he kind of gets into the roast, but, like, he doesn't take it that far the way the Insult Emporium did. He kind of
see the Insult Emporium.
The Insult Emporium got a little more hardcore. And that's why it got taken out. Like, someone actually got, like, genuinely, I guess, hurt and complained enough that...
Oh. All right.
But, yeah, this is a really cool zone. If you're also kind of done with houses and just want to hang around in the zone and just watch, you can watch in Chucky, especially if you're a Chucky fan. Right. At the end, for set change, he always inducts the crowd into the cult of Chucky. And he does that, lightning strikes, thunderclaps, and then he does the voodoo spell. And he's like, congratulations, you demented freaks. You're now in the cult of Chucky. Yay! Yeah. And then he leaves, and there's a short break, and then Chucky comes on back and does it all over again.
Yep. All right. Now we are moving on back to the front for
Stranger Things. We're going to get into the houses now.
Yep. I've never watched Stranger Things. The only thing I know about Stranger Things is what I've learned from Bill and Ted.
That's right. I never watched the show either. I do know that this is based on season 1 of Stranger Things.
Which makes me believe there's going to be 2 next year.
Possibly so. Now, if you do watch the show, there's a whole lot of the Demogorgon. A whole lot. You do see the Stranger Things kids.
Yep.
And you do see like the facility where I guess where 11 was. Because you go into a kind of like a scientific facility place. So a lot of, if you're a fan of the show, you'll see a lot of familiar sights. There's the Ouija board alphabet on the wall. You'll see the kids like looking around like, hey, where's this guy? And the Demogorgon's like bouncing out at you. And you'll see Will, and like one of the final rooms is there's a Demogorgon like pinned against the wall, and Will going like this.
Yeah.
So if you are a fan of Stranger Things, if you like the show, I recommend either getting in here right away, or buy an express, or
just waiting in line and playing the game they have, the mobile game they have for Horror Nights this year.
Yeah.
Or you can do what everyone else has been doing for many, many years and play Heads Up. So I thought it was snowing. I thought it was snowing in the house, but apparently it's some floaty thing that's in the show.
Oh, I don't know.
Like there's particles that float that's all CG, and they're like, oh, how are they going to do that? There's stuff that's floating in the air, and people who watch the show are like, oh wow, they actually made it work. I'm like, oh, I thought it was supposed to be snow.
I don't know anything about
houses in the
this.
past have had snow.
Yeah.
It's probably kind of how they did it mechanically. So, unfortunately, we don't know enough about the show. So from there we go to
Carnival Graveyard, Rust
All right.
in Pieces. Now, like we were saying, Easter egg hunters, this is your house. This is a treasure trove of Easter eggs all over the place.
Oh, yeah. First thing you walk into, basically, you almost hit it, is the Jack mask or the burlap bag with Jack on it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, anybody who knows much about Halloween Horror Nights should have expected Jack to be in there somehow.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Especially with a carnival house.
Well, listen to me.
Yeah. All right. Now, some of the Easter eggs that I have personally found, and maybe you've personally found, that Jack Hood, the skull head from Horror Nights 27, where it was Festival of the Deadliest.
Oh, yeah.
There's a Freddy Krueger glove. The giant baby's head from Dollhouse of the Damned in Horror Nights 24.
Dollhouse of the Damned.
There is a Disaster Studios crate in there.
Nice.
When you get to the Tunnel of Love, you see two people, like a male and a female. They're wearing these mirrored masks, and first they stab at you, and then they do this, and then they kiss each other. Now, if you pay attention to like that scare, there's like this couple, like kind of wrapped in like barbed wire together, and their faces have been peeled off. Well, those two living people are wearing those faces.
Ooh.
And those faces are also from another scare zone. I forget which one, but like that's one of the Easter eggs.
Cool.
You get to a section called Critter Corner, which I think is a little knock against Disney's Critter Country over in Anaheim. So those are the Easter eggs that I mentioned. What about you? Did you notice anything else?
No.
Okay.
I only saw one.
Okay. Then there's probably a lot more. So like Easter egg hunters, keep a sharp eye out.
And post a comment on this video when it goes to on demand.
Yeah.
Since our one friend isn't chatting with us.
But the basic concept is you're walking into a scrapyard with lots of carnival stuff from years past. I think this is a lot of fun. There's a lot of unique scares here. There's like an electric clown, like doing this.
Yeah. And if you didn't watch our other videos on my other channel, they did have a video for this house to promote it. Part of the video was from Six Flags in New Orleans, which was shut down because it got super flooded after Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the satellite photo, there's some land that's like across the street from it it's high and dry. Probably were wishing that they had built their park there, which is the second Six Flags that I know of that's been closed. There was one in South Florida that was closed because of Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just sitting there, just rusting away, which is too bad because they probably could have salvaged it a lot easier right after the hurricane, but it's still there over 10 years later. And the rest of it was a theme park or a amusement park in Russia that was very, very close to the Chernobyl accident. And apparently it was either open for a few hours or was about to open the very next day.
Yeah.
But which was the day that the explosion happened, or explosions, and it never was opened. But because of the radiation, nobody was able to go back there and demolish it, or they didn't because you can't live there, or whatever it is. Those are the two places that are used for recording the video. Apparently you can go in there now because there's some video of it, unless someone was wearing protective clothing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's where that came from, so little side note.
Yeah. And if you just happen to like screwed up sites and attractions, definitely look into that because like it's actually kind of cool looking in a morbid way.
Yeah. All right, now we're moving on to...
Let's move on to Scary Tales, Deadly Ever After.
As I mentioned, that's still in the same building as Carnival. It's on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to go out and go back in through the proper entrance.
Yeah.
The proper entrance. So Scary Tales is, I still think this is my favorite house, or at least it's one of my favorite houses of the year. because it's pretty cool. The first thing that makes it super metal when you first walk in is
the Flying Wicked Witch of the West.
Which I wish they did more stuff like this. Like Hollow Scream has people on bungee cords that jump out at you and fling back. I don't know why, unless they're worried about copying things. I don't know why Horror Nights doesn't do that as much. It's pretty cool.
But I will say, Horror Nights this year is trying out a lot of different things that they haven't done in the past.
The Witch isn't completely different because they did something like that last year, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But it's done differently. But it's the first thing as you walk in, you see her hopping around, and it's pretty metal.
Yeah. And then you walk into a castle, and
Castle Anthrax.
So
Don't worry, it's only a model.
So you
You're supposed to go, shh. Delta 8.
So you see a lot of twisted fairy tales. The Wizard of Oz, Rapunzel, the Three Little Pigs, Goldilocks. But things are a little different now. Now the Witch has taken over. Things have gotten a little crazy around the land of fairy tales.
Like Rapunzel's hair has separated from her body and come to life as its own being.
Yeah. And Rapunzel's freaking out about it. She's like trying to cut her own skin and.
Yeah. Well, maybe it hasn't separated, but it is its own thing.
Yeah. The Three Little Pigs are now not so little pigs. They're like these big, mean pigs, and they've killed the wolf. Like, you see, like, the wolf's head, like, cooking in a pot. And the last little pig is wearing, like an old Davy Crockett, like, hat. It's a wolf hat. And he's even wearing, like the
Are you saying that's a pig's and sheep's and wolf's clothing?
That's right.
So one of the things that they made public in a fake live stream before Horror Nights was that there's a room where Humpty Dumpty, which is supposedly a canon, according to some people, but is for some reason always referred to as an egg, even though it's not even in the original story. It fell off the wall, shattered everywhere, landed on top of a hot pile of coals, and is now cooking.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to smell a really awful smell of rotted eggs, but I went through twice and I didn't smell it.
And did you go through Team Preview?
Yeah.
What was it then?
No.
Oh, okay.
I went through twice. First one was Team Preview.
It might be the Exorcist kind of thing where you're supposed to smell pea soup, and it is like very faint. I didn't really notice it.
I didn't smell anything at all, but that was a big thing. They're like, oh, it's going to smell like rotten egg. It's going to be awesome. And I'm like, well, it would be awesome if I could smell it. It's more like the pizza in Race to New York. I've never smelled that.
Yeah. I will say, like, there's two Kingsmen there trying to put them together. One of them is actually getting sick. And blah.
Yeah. That's but you can't, there's no smell.
Yeah.
Also, bear. Bear is dead.
Well,
because
Goldilocks is, I think it's supposed to be Mama Bear is dead.
Yeah.
And I think Papa Bear is in the window, like he's an actual bear, like roaring and trying to get in and get to Goldilocks. And you also see Papa Bear at the end. He's the very last scare.
Yeah, but I mean, little Goldilocks killing a bear with a bare hands.
Oh yeah.
Pretty hardcore.
So like these are just some of the. There's also a Little Mermaid room. Mm-hmm. It's a short room, but like there's definitely a Little Mermaid room because even though it's a famous Disney movie, Little Mermaid is based on an old fairy tale.
Ah, yes, and also more of a Wizard of Oz thing, but where she said, "There's no place like home." One of the people who are held in a cell and are awaiting torture or being tortured, I remember, keeps saying, "I just want to go home. I just want to go home," which is sort of a reoccurring thing with scary fairy tales.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of twist that around where she's like, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, if you are walking in during the day, this is going to be a little harder to navigate. So beware for that. Be aware of that. But if you wait, the wait times seem to go up. So
let's move on to Poltergeist.
all right. The only thing I saw that I liked in this, that because I never saw the movie, is early on when you're walking in, above where you walk under, there's the girl with the TV with her hands on the TV. You see that from behind, and there's a TV in front of her. Near the end of the house or the maze, when you're walking through, you see her again, but all you see is the TV in her hands.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're inside the TV.
Yeah.
Which is pretty clever. I like that.
Yeah. This is also, I think this is an awesome house. It deserves to be one of the busier houses.
Yeah.
It's also very cold in there.
Oh, yeah.
But it follows the 1982 movie. And what he was talking about is you go into the light. So
Yes.
if you're familiar with the movie, don't go into the light. No, you go into the light.
Yep.
Zelda, the old lady, actually
Zelda. Huh?
yeah, that's her name. It really is her name.
Really? So they made her a girl?
That's right, Dave. She actually teaches you how to go into the light. All right, clear your minds. It knows what scares you. But you start with the pool. Like, you actually walk into, like, when they're building the pool, and you see, like, one of the old coffins sticking out of the ground. And you start with all those dead zombie corpses. And it actually tricks you. This is one of the things that they're trying is, so, like, while you're walking through the house, you'll see, like, hands, like, sticking out of a coffin. And you'll see that twice. And then the third time, you're like, oh, it's just another pair of hands. And then it goes, rah! It actually, like, grabs at you.
That's all the notes I have for me.
There's a lot of puppets in there. So you'll see...
Yes. Including someone who we kind of know.
Yeah.
Who is also a YouTuber.
Hey there, hi there, ho there.
Yep.
So, a lot of that skull that you see in the movie.
Skulls.
Yeah, skulls. And I hope you do not have a fear of clowns because
Ooh, you're in the wrong event if you do.
yeah. And there's like a very, very big room with that clown.
Yeah, from Scary Movie 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, this is a really good house. If you're a fan of that first movie, definitely go in here.
So now we move on to...
We're going to move on to the horrors of Blumhouse.
The horrors... Or the horrors of Blumhouse. Not really the horrors. That's a different house. That costs extra. So, again, it's a pretty good split between the two. There's a note for Chucky Scare Zone. That's great. So what do you have?
So, it starts with Happy Death Day.
Yes.
And it repeats the room several times. And if you're paying attention, the room changes in subtle ways, like the way she's laying in bed changes.
It's not that subtle. Like there's lights going all around the room in the first time, and then the music changes. Also, you only enter the room the first time and from one way, and then you enter it from another door, and after that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that you go through the same direction through the room the other times, but the first time you go through a different way, which is interesting.
But you see a whole lot of that baby doll killer.
Yeah.
I don't know what his name is. I never saw Happy Death Day, so I don't know what the name of the character is.
I like there's like a little boombox as a prop that's actually playing music from it.
Yeah.
Or at least there's a speaker right next to it, so it sounds like it's coming from it, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
And in a house that's that loud, it's pretty impressive. You can still hear it coming from that. There's a lot of detail in this. Is this the one with the? There's one with the old school typewriter. I don't remember if it was this one or not. But
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember where that is.
It might have been. It might be in that house. I can't remember. But it's there. As always with Horror Nights, there's a lot of detail.
Oh yeah. And the second half of the house is the first Purge, which follows the movie of the first Purge.
Which I haven't seen.
But I have. So, not so much of those glowing masks and the glowing eyes, but you do see some of the main characters from the first Purge, and it follows the movie pretty well. Like, you end up in the apartment at the end. So, if you were a fan of either movie, or if you didn't like one movie but you like the other, still go in here.
Or if you're like me, who haven't seen either one, you still go in there.
Yeah. All right, so you've never seen either. What'd you think?
No, I thought it was pretty cool. I have said several times, but I really like that it wasn't like Happy Death Day. And then Purge. We are a little purged out, but they keep bringing it back, so...
But I think they did learn from last year, like having the 3 IPs in that house was a little bit too much, and people didn't like the...
Especially being that wasn't it mostly Purge?
Actually, it was mostly Insidious.
Oh.
But
it was Purge, and then there was a Purge scare zone. It's like, really?
Yeah. Now, I am not tired of Purge, personally. I know a lot of people are getting tired of, Purge again. Oh, great.
I just don't like when they repeat stuff.
Yeah. I was getting worn out with The Walking Dead when there was 5 years in a row. But let's move on to Slaughter Cinema.
Nah, let's skip it. No one cares about that.
No, everyone likes that house.
So, Slaughter Cinema. There's a lot of smells in that house, which are pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
Oh, another thing about Scary Tales is there's a lot of smells in there of gingerbread and things like that.
Oh, yeah. Now, that's very strong.
Strong, yeah. There's an arcade with real arcade games. There's actually 2 different places with an arcade. There's a pinball in the bar, which is contractually which is a contractual obligation for this guy.
I have to be in the house with the bar.
And then there's a Chuck E. Cheese-ish sort of typical game room with arcade games. The type of carpeting they always put in this kind of places, the table, food, happy birthday, all the balloons. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's actually kind of funny because one of those games is Spy Hunter, but it's all glitched out. It's not even like working properly.
Which is a song, Peter Gunn?
Peter Gunn.
Which is in that game, but it's also, of course, in Blues Brothers, which is a Universal property.
And they play it in the park.
Right. Because the Blues Brothers come and perform, but that's also park music.
So...
Ooh, there we go. There's some thunder. You won't hear it on the microphone, but now it's very Halloween, Brian.
Oh, that's right. So, what you've got is it's an old drive-in movie theater, and they're playing all these old 80s horror movies. The movies in order are The Foul Fists of Dr. Faustus, Sorority Sacrifice, Devil Dogs, Pumpkin Guts, Shidy's Kids. It's not actually pronounced Shidy, it's pronounced another way.
Yeah.
But for the
it's
sake...
it's not really spelled that way, but it's pronounced that way.
So SCHITTIE apostrophe S Kids.
Ding! That is correct. You can move on to the next stage of the spelling bee. Thank you.
All right. Cult of the Beast Baby.
Yes.
Amazon Cannibals from Planet Hell. Barber Chop.
Ooh.
A little off the top.
There's a lot of movies. There's a lot of different areas. And again, this is a small tent, and they fit a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It.
Midnight Snack 2, The House Swarming. And the final movie is Attack of the Swamp Yeti. Now, there's also some Easter eggs in here.
Oh, yes.
So every time you are going into a new movie, there's the poster and a little drive-in movie speaker. The movie poster actually has like actors and production on it. All of these are a Jack in the Box production. Think about that. Jack in the Box production.
And it's also a lot like HR Blood and Guts, where before you go into a room, in that house it was different holidays and there's a little TV. Before you go into the room, you hear a guy pitching the movie, and you see the poster and kind of like the tagline of the movie as well.
Yeah. Which some of them are kind of funny. I wish you could hear them a little more better. Like
Yeah. Well, you do hear some of them when you're standing in line outside, unless you're like me on Saturday, you just walk right in because everybody else is going to Stranger Things.
But like they do some clever things, like for Cult of the Beast Baby, do this spring.
Yeah.
So there's like little Easter eggs on the posters, but I believe they're part of the creative people and the designers and all that. Like some of the ones I picked out are Double Dog stars James and Al Herter. Cult of the Beast Baby stars Albert Kane. Barber Chop stars Charles Gray, Curtis Hopkins, and T.J. Manarino. If you know the higher ups for Horror Nights, like those names are very familiar to you. Midnight Snack stars Drew Barryless and has a quote from the Kerry Telegraph. And Attack of the Swamp Yeti. Apparently, there is an actual like '80s Swamp Yeti movie. Our Swamp Yeti performers like found this out the other night and are trying to find out more about it.
Oh, all right. I'm not. I was going to say the line in the house, but I'm not going to, just in case he gets Dave Chappelle and like everybody starts going in there and saying the line to his face. But there is a scare actor in this house that was in the house that I worked last year.
Oh,
somewhere.
Well,
you told me that. The one was right after you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about now. Yes.
He was the one that told me that. But, like I said, a lot. Now, this tent is the first house I worked, not counting the orientation.
Mm-hmm.
The very, very first shift I ever worked for Universal was when it was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in that house, and that was my first time working at Universal. And now this guy's working in that house. And one of the attendants for who I worked with last year is an attendant here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no dancing because there's no music this time.
But, every house I've ever been in for Horror Nights, Ghost Town, The Curse of Lightning Gulch, The Shining, and now Slaughter Cinema has always had a bar in it. I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah.
And then there's the outside, the facade is an old drive-in movie screen, which looks all run down and stuff, and they're running some promos for those movies on the screen.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Dead Exposure Patient Zero.
Okay. Again, like I said, this is another undead house, but outside of it, I guess it's supposed to take place in Germany.
No, Paris.
Oh, it sounds very German. That doesn't. I don't know. It looks like it's German writing and German music outside of the house.
Oh, I will agree with you on that song. And when we do cast change and I line up, I'm hearing that song. It actually gets me pumped up.
Yeah. So yeah, the thing is, well, it's different for you because you're a scare actor.
Yeah.
But when it was, I forgot the name of it already. The house that was there 2 years ago.
Oh, Tomb of the Ancients.
Yeah, when I would take my break as an attendant, I would hear their outside music and their I memorized the whole script because again, you walk past the one house to get to the other. But it sounds and looks very German. There's a base camp for the military that's outside and barbed wire fences and stuff and when one of the first rooms you walk in is some monkey business.
So the concept is there's a virus that is outbroken and you are participating.
Is that like outspoken?
Yeah. You are participating in a mandatory vaccination for this virus. And they give you all kinds of warnings in several different languages and tell you about what you're doing. But when you walk in, there's all these monkeys in cages.
There's a few animatronic ones.
Yeah.
It was kind of hard to tell because it was daylight, so I couldn't really see as much.
Well, actually, it doesn't matter what time you go in. It's hard to see regardless in this house.
Well, it's even harder when your eyes are not adjusted.
There's a lot of flashing lights. There's a lot of black moving around. And but this house does look very cool. I think this is one of the... out of all these houses, this is one of the the most interesting visually, and that's saying something.
Yeah, and it's not super busy in early in the night, and it seems to be a little less busy. So if you want to go to a house with a low 8, now by the time you watch this, unless you're that one guy watching right now, the early access for the annual pass holders will probably be over. But if it's one of those nights, you can't get into these houses until 6:30 unless you're either registered and an annual pass holder or a guest of one, because that's their 1 hour exclusive. But once the 6:30 happens, it opens up. I think a lot of people go over like, oh, we can't get in, and they walk away. So if you're there near 6:30, stand in one of those locations. Once they let the barricades go, there's very low wait times.
Yeah. And speaking as his character, like that first set is actually kind of quiet. So yeah, it's a good time to go in, like right when they open. All right, now we're going to move on to Seeds of Extinction.
Oh yeah, Seeds of Exhaustion. I thought this was kind of a lame house just from the description.
It doesn't sound that interesting, but it really is. It actually looks pretty cool in there. I think. This isn't one of my personal favorite houses, but I do like the concept. I do like how elaborate the entire house is.
And it's in a building that this time last year wasn't even finished.
Yeah. So this is a new location, which is why the queue is a little weird for it, because maybe it was the best thing. They might, next year when they use it, they might have a better idea of how to use the queue. We'll see. I didn't think the walk was that bad, personally.
I feel badly for the attendants who work there, because I worked in Ash vs. Evil Dead, and it was not nearly as long of a walk, and that's all we heard.
Yeah.
Oh, where's the express? Oh, where's the wheelchair? It's like you're in a theme park. You walk a lot.
Yeah. So, the story is that a meteor carrying a 4-pound seed crashes and drills...
Did you already read that?
Well, I'll do it again. It changes the global ecosystem in 5 days. All blue water turns to green. There's living plants. It takes place in a mall. So you see like dilapidated buildings with, like plants all over the place. And the living plants coming after you. There's a few cool tricks in here. Water effects.
It's raining.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
It's not like a heavy rain, but you'll feel drops of water throughout, I think, most of the house.
Mm-hmm. And then there's some air effects. There's like little plants with like shooting seeds at you. There is an Easter egg that is near and dear to me. When you are walking, it's very, very hard to miss.
You see it very easily?
Yes. So there's a door. You're going into like a 7-Eleven place, and it says "Home with a Lightning Gulp," and there's even a prospector like doing this.
Well, I missed it, so I guess it's not that hard to miss.
Oh well, if you're keeping a sharp eye out, it's.
I knew of it. I just didn't see it.
Yeah. The first place I ever worked was called Ghost Town, the Curse of Lightning Gulch. And we actually had a prospector in there, and well, we had several prospectors. Yeah. But seeing that was, aww.
And there's actually a lot of Easter eggs in there, so I guess we haven't caught them.
Yeah. The house is visually interesting. The scares were kind of okay to me. It's a little plant monsters going, rah. I'm a Horror Nights veteran, so I don't know how effective the scares are in there for like normal guests. But definitely check this out. There is a Q video to read about like what's going on, and the Slaughter Cinema Q.
There's a video in the queue.
Yeah, well, sort of like there's not much going on.
I went on preview night and I just walked right in. So.
Okay, well there is some text talking about like it's like day 1 this happens, day 2 this happens, day 3. That's about it. The Slaughter Cinema one is the most elaborate Q video. So they've kind of stepped away from doing cute videos, so like definitely check it out and pay attention because like I like
You'll
the
be
cute
quizzed
videos.
later.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna move on to trick or treat.
So I've only gone through this once, but I remember there being a lot of very big, very impressive house facades throughout this whole house.
I've been through a couple times because I'm a fan of the movie. So, if you saw The Zone last year and you've seen the movie, expect pretty much the same thing, except it's a lot more elaborate and a lot more detail. You actually walk into the houses.
Yeah.
When Sam has written trick or treat and all that stuff all over, you see that. You see Sam several times.
Many times.
Oh, yeah. You see the grumpy neighbor, Mr. Creed. Yeah. Oh,
And
Halloween.
the vomiting kid is vomiting again, but it's continuous, unlike last year.
Oh, I need to step back for a second. The Horror Nights bus, the Halloween Horror Nights bus is at Seeds of Extinction right outside. Now, the Trick or Treat bus...
There's several. There's 3 of them, I believe.
Yeah. You see that in the house for Trick or Treat.
In various states.
Yeah. So the first time you see it, if you look in the windows, you will see the kids wearing their Halloween costumes. And then you see the kids again out. You see the devil, the vampire, the rabbit, and you see the witch from, she wasn't part of the bus, she was the story. So you see a lot of things from the movie. The bus you see, and then the bus ends up crashing into a quarry and sinking with the kids in it.
You see just the very back of a bus.
Yeah.
As it's sinking.
And they even took the time to splatter mud onto the side of the bus that it hadn't submerged yet, which I thought was an amazing detail.
Pretty cool.
And the last thing you see is Sam unmasked.
Ooh, scary.
Yeah. They do something early in the house with Mr. Krieg fighting with Sam, because I was like, how are they going to do that? And it's actually a puppet of Sam on him, and it's a puppeteer, and he's going back and forth, struggling with Sam, and he even has Sam pop out at you and go back, and the final house is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. And they even do that. You will hear that a lot in the house. So, if you're familiar with the story of Halloween 4, it follows the story very well. It's been 10 years. Michael's in a hospital, but it's Halloween night, and so he's waking up, and he's got this, he has to go back to Haddonfield, and he makes it, and Dr. Loomis is following him, and he's going after his niece this time. So that's that girl in the clown outfit that you see. And did you have anything on this?
I think they went a little overboard on how many Michael Myers as you see in the house. There's a scene where there's literally a Michael Myers, and then 6 feet over is another Michael Myers, and he's only one character. You shouldn't see him twice at the same time. But,
it is following the movie, and it's going through the scene. There's, I think that's a battle scene, so that's why. Now, the reason...
I know it's called Return Michael Myers, but, okay, enough already.
Yeah. So the reason you see the girl in the clown outfit attack you at the end of the house is because it's a twist ending where, because she is his niece and part of his family, she's gotten his insanity or craziness or evil, whatever you want to call it, and the trauma of the whole event has made her murderous now, so she's going to take on his murderous ways. But I think this is a very strong year this year. Probably you want to buy Express, or I made it through within 2 nights. I saw 5 houses one night, 5 houses the other night, and I still had a bit of time. So you can, if you know what you're doing, not have Express, but
It's a lot harder than last year.
Yes. Yeah. The crowds are pretty heavy. We've broken projection a couple times, I've heard.
Where did they break a projector?
No, as in attendance.
Oh.
Like we were projected to be at this level of attendance, and we actually like overshot it. So you might want to consider Express, even though Express is expensive, or there is a little bit of magic to waiting in the queues, especially for Slaughter Cinema.
Yeah.
So it's up to you. But there is a whole lot of waiting this year, and it's hard to tell like when is going to be like the good time to come.
But remember, if you wait for the after 10 or after 11 Express, so are a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And it becomes a little less Express.
Yeah. But that is half price.
Yeah. And it's 10 o'clock, after 10 o'clock on nights that close at 1 a.m. It is after 11 o'clock for nights that close at 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What do you think overall this year?
I think it's pretty good. I was hoping that it would be a little bit dead the first few weeks because I would like to go through the houses a little bit more easily. But that's a benefit of working at Universal. If you live close enough to do that, is that team member preview night was a great night to go through houses. I had to work. I got finished about less than 2 hours before the end of the event, and the only thing I missed was the Stranger Things, because even though it was 35 minutes as opposed to what it is now, the final house I went through was 1 a.m. by the time I got out. So if I went to Stranger Things, I would have missed a few other houses. But pretty cool.
Yeah.
We still need Bill and Ted back. Unfortunately, not going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, let us talk about Academy of Villains while we're at it.
Oh, yeah.
So it is now the main show. It is the only show.
Yep.
It is in the Fear Factor live theater.
And it's one of the reasons why the wait times are so long, because there's not a second show to get people to one spot. So they're all around in the houses. The scare zones are not actually as crowded as they can be. So they're not being sucked up into the scare zones either.
Now the concept is of there's actually a story. Well, there's always a story, but like it's a very pronounced story of it's the future, and there's a company that
Conan?
In the year 2000, there's a company that offers augmentations for humans, like like if you want better eyes, or like faster hands, or stronger or faster or something. They end up being full-on cyborgs way into the future, and kind of a Terminator type of deal, like have turned against humanity, and now there's this small resistance of humans, and the humans and the cyborgs have dance battles, and the dancing is always impressive. I didn't quite like the when they were doing the door frame dancing.
Yeah.
But everything else I thought was really awesome. Like the dancing is incredible. So if you're a fan of Academy of Villains or the Jabberwockies, definitely go check this out. There's a lot of cool things to look at now that they've got this big stage.
Yeah.
There's some fun parts where they do like audience interaction, and you gotta do the robot to throw off the cyborgs, or you do like this slow motion thing, or you do like the wave. So yeah, definitely go in and check it out. It's a good break to get off your feet for a while, and check out some really awesome dancing.
And what year is it supposed to be?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think it really says. Just
it says exactly the year.
Oh, I don't remember
At the very
that.
beginning, it was like 2,300 something.
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember what the exact year was.
And yet they have to go and blow up a mainframe. Mainframes are from the 1980s.
But that's probably
300
why
years
they did.
from now, it's not going to be a thing.
But
it's not a thing now.
I think they put in a mainframe specifically because of the theme of Horror Nights.
I doubt it. I guess it's for people who don't know that mainframes aren't a thing anymore. So I don't like it. I like it better when it was on a small stage and all they really focused on was dancing.
Mm-hmm.
They got too much in the story and blah, 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 and there's too much space. And yeah, I like the little stage they had last year because all they really did was focus on the dancing. And that's what the group is mostly about.
Mhm.
So I saw it once, and that's gonna be it for me.
All right. Do you have a top 10 this year?
No.
All right. Do you mind if I read my top 10?
All right.
All right. Now, obviously, this is my top 10. If something you really like is not part of my top 5 or whatever, that's okay. You know, like the thing about Horror Nights is like there's always a variety to please everybody. There's like a little something for everybody. So my personal top 10. Number 10, Seeds of Extinction. Number 9, Twisted Tradition. I always like that zone. I always like the way it looks. Number 8, Dead Exposure Patient Zero. I like that they've brought a house back after 10 years. I like there's a lot of flashing lights in there. So visually, it's very cool in there. There's a lot of flashing lights. There's a lot of darkness and black. It's actually funny, like...
Is the darkness imprisoning you?
It is. It is imprisoning you, because like sometimes you're like, oh, this way. When we do cast change, Slaughter Cinema lines up on one side, Dead Exposure lines up on the other side, because we're both right there. It's funny, there's like 4 characters who are not solid black. There's the 2 hazmat guys, there's the server with blood all over him, and there's a lady wearing pink. I think she's supposed to be like a news lady. They're the only ones who are not solid. Everything else, all of the zombies and the undead, they are solid black, head to toe. It almost looks like they're puppeteers going on set because it's just solid black. But you realize with the masks that, so like it's hard to see them until like they're moving, and it's visually it's really awesome in there. Number 7, Poltergeist. Number 6, Carnival Graveyard. I love the concept in there. I like visually what's going on in there. I love that clown. I love the ringmaster in there. Yeah. Number 5, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That's a really good movie. It's a really good zone. Number 4, Revenge of Chucky. That is an awesome zone. I love how Chucky roasts people. I love the Monkey Mayhem, the Doctor, all those old 80s toys brought to life again. The Care Bears running around, they're all evil now.
Yeah.
Number 3, Slaughter Cinema. All right, yeah, I know I'm a little biased because I'm in that actual house, but I love the concept of that house, even if I wasn't there. The fact that you're going through all these old 80s movies is really awesome. And they told us that every single room or movie was a concept for a haunted house for Horror Nights that just never made it to final stages.
Oh.
So they decided to throw it all together.
It's like leftovers.
Yeah, well, kind of leftovers. Number 2, Trick or Treat. That was an awesome zone. It's an awesome house. And number 1, Scary Tales. That's a really good house.
Yes.
If you come to Horror Nights for Stranger Things or Poltergeist or Halloween or Trick or Treat, definitely check out some of the original houses, especially Scary Tales.
And one of the reasons I think that some of the original houses are so good is because they're not... The IP brings people in, and it's cool to see Michael and Jason and stuff, but they have to adhere to certain guidelines.
Yeah, sure.
That they can't go outside of because it's someone else's character.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to their own stuff, they can do what they want to because they're making it for the purpose of Horror Nights. So they're not as restricted. So sometimes some really cool stuff happens because they don't have to worry about somebody else saying,
no.
Well, does that fit the character? Well, that is a character. So everything fits.
Yeah.
So thank you to the guy who watched this all the way through.
I have a feeling that they are. I think I know who that is. It's somebody who watches this on YouTube, but didn't go through the whole process of creating a channel and a name and all that. They just want to watch. So I think if you are who I think you are, hello again, and nice to see you from Revenge of Chucky.
Yep. So again, we are going to probably try to do this again next year, but for now, and we're also thinking about doing our Dave and Brian Live on this channel from now on.
Okay.
So for now, what I need everyone to do is to post a comment and say, these days and these times work best for us.
Okay.
We have our schedules, and it's kind of hard to wiggle around, but obviously we love the interaction with the chat room.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to be live when the most amount of you can watch and chat with us. But so far, we haven't had anyone say, oh, this works better for us, this works better for us, so we're just kind of guessing.
Yeah.
This works for this guy because this year there aren't any Monday and Tuesdays for Halloween Horror Nights. Last year there was one of each.
Yeah.
So.
But as of now, for Horror Nights, Mondays and Tuesdays are best for me, and the rest of the year, Wednesday and Thursday are best for me as of now. Sometimes that changes.
Right. But if the show gets really popular, you have the possibility you could put 2 days unavailable and still keep full-time status.
Yeah, sure.
If everyone's like, oh, well, Saturday or Sunday, that's the easiest for us to watch, we can change our schedule around and be both off on the same day and still keep our full-time status. So,
yeah.
But right now, we've tried weekdays mostly because it's easier for us, and that seems to work. But we haven't tried every different time slot and every different week, and I know as everybody else, 1 week you might be available on this day, some day. So we're just trying to give an average. So please let us know.
Yeah.
And as you see here on the screen, as I point completely in the wrong spot, I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on this channel. It's been over 10 years since I started it. They took away my monetization. So I'm trying desperately to get to 1,000 subscribers, which doesn't sound like it would be that hard, but it has been. So please subscribe.
Please.
And thanks for watching. Now I got to do the awkward walk over.